Hello world, Nick here with part 2 of my Java programming tutorial. So here what we're going to do is we're going to take this wonderful Eclipse page with nothing on it and we're going to write our first Java program. So let's go ahead and get started. So we want to add a file to it because right now our program has nothing in it. It just has this folder right here called src, short for source, and it's empty. So let's add a file to it. To add that, we're going to right click on the folder, click new, and then we don't want to create a new project, we just did that. What we want to do is we want to create a new class. So for now, don't really worry about what a class is. We'll get into that in a few videos, but for now you can think of a class as basically a place that holds our code. So pretty much all the code you're going to write in Java needs to be inside of a class with a few exceptions. So that's what this is for. So you can leave everything here the way it is. The one thing we're going to want to change is we're going to, for the name of our class, you can call it anything you want. We're going to call it hello. And right here you're going to want to click on public static void main string args. I know that looks weird, but you're going to want that. And you can leave everything else the same. Don't really worry about what it means. We'll get into that later. And click on finish. And here's our class. So a few things to notice here. First one is in our file it says public class hello, and then it has an opening curly bracket here. Then at the bottom it has a closing curly bracket for it. You can tell when you highlight one, the other gets highlighted on its own. So that's really good. So it helps us tell which brackets match to which. And what this does, this public class hello, is it's basically telling our computer when it tries to do stuff with this code that everything inside of these brackets is part of our class called hello. So don't worry about exactly what public means. I'll make a video talking about what these words mean. But for now, the main thing that you have to know is that these brackets here are saying that all the code in between them is all inside of our class called hello. So now let's take a look inside. So remember when we checked that box that said public static void main string args? You should remember that. It was a few minutes ago. So what we did when we checked that was we made it so that this shows up in our code when we open it. So if we didn't do that, our program would look like this right now. But that's not exciting. So because we did check it, we have this. And this is, I guess, a little more exciting, a little bit. So what this code actually does here is it takes, this is a method. So what's a method? A method is essentially a function. It's something that does things. And I know that that's a really vague definition, but it's kind of hard to get into all of the specifics all at once. So we're going to start off with vague definitions for things in general, and then they'll slowly get more and more specific as we get more and more knowledge. So this is a method inside of these curly brackets right here. And what is this method called? This method is called main. So main, every program is going to have one method which is called main. And that's a special method because when you tell your computer to read all this code, it's going to start programming not from the top of the file, which is what a lot of people would expect it to do, but it's going to search around for this program called main, and for this method called main, and this is where it's going to start executing from whatever's inside of these brackets right here. So the same way the public class hello was closed inside of these curly brackets, our methods are also enclosed within curly brackets. So the stuff that's in here is the stuff that's a part of main. So this is going to be a general rule for Java programming. There's a lot here to unpack, so we'll slowly get to it as we go. But for now, just know that we're going to need this exact phrase right here. Public static void, open parentheses, main, or public static void main, open parentheses, string, left square bracket, right square bracket, space, args, close parentheses. That exact string, just like that, is going to show up in all of our programs. And that's what tells our computer to when we want to run this code, do whatever's in here. So first thing we have here, which is kind of interesting, is this thing here that it added for us. So what this is it is something called a comment. So we have code that does things, like most of the code you write is going to be code that actually does things, but it's kind of hard for humans to understand code when it gets pretty complicated. So that's what comments are for. They're there so that we can tell other humans or ourselves what our code is doing without actually doing anything itself. So that's what these two slashes are for. If you ever want to write a comment, so write code that your computer is going to basically just ignore. It's only there for you, so you know what's going on. The way you would do that is you would write // and then after those two slashes on that same line you can put anything and your computer will ignore what it is. So I can write anything here. You see, if we did that without the slashes, that little X shows up there, and that is Eclipse telling us that we have an error, that this is not valid Java code. This just doesn't make any sense as code, right? But if we put the two slashes, then it's a comment, and this is here for humans. So that's what comments are for. And another way you could also have comments is, because you could imagine if you want to write a whole paragraph worth of comments, it could get annoying to put // before every line. So what you can also do is put a slash and a star, and then now you can write multi-line comments like that. So I'm showing you how to write code which does absolutely nothing. So how about we write code which does something? So let's do that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to write a hello world program. So that is a program which all that it does is it writes the words hello world on the screen. And I know it sounds really, really simple and really, really easy, but this is where we're starting, and from here we'll get on to doing some pretty cool stuff. Alright, so to create this program that somehow miraculously writes words on the screen, we are going to have to write some code in here which does things. So for now, don't worry about why this works. After I write it, I'm going to explain it to you. But we're going to write the words system.out.println, and then we're going to put parentheses at the end. So after we put the left parenthesis, the right parenthesis should, I can't spell. There we go. So after we put the left parenthesis there, the right parenthesis should automatically come afterwards. So what goes inside of those parentheses is what we want to print inside of double quotes. So what println basically means is this is a method. It's a method that is somewhere else. We didn't make it, but it exists. It gives you a short description on the screen if you hover over it in Eclipse, which is pretty nice. So the way it works is you put a string, which is some amount of words in within quotes like that. That's called a string. So we're going to put a string like this inside of the parentheses, and whatever's in there, this method right here is going to print. So this is another one of those things that's just worth committing to memory, at least for now. The system with a capital S .out.println, and then you'll see Eclipse is still giving us this red X here. So those red X's show up, as we saw earlier, when we have something on the screen that's not actual valid code that won't run. So if we hover over it, it'll usually say why. So here it says syntax error, insert semicolon to complete block statements. So the reason that it says that is because in Java, every statement that does something, we need to put a semicolon afterwards. Just like that, and now the red X goes away. So you're probably thinking, why doesn't public class hello have a semicolon? Or why doesn't public static void main string args have a semicolon? And that's because these lines right here they're basically just telling us all the code within these brackets is part of this class. All the code here within these brackets right here is part of this main method, but it doesn't actually do anything. So this line of code, it actually does something. It prints something, so that's why we need to have the semicolon at the end of it. So this is actually, believe it or not, all that we really need for our first program. We have our class, and inside of it we have our main method. Then inside of that we have the code that we want to run. And to run this program, you want to go over here to this green circle where it says run, and then we click on that. Then it's going to ask you to save your resources beforehand. That's good, you should do that. And now down here, this console should have come up, and it says exactly what we typed in here, hello world. And we have just successfully made our first program. Now again, I know that this program does nothing special, but it is a very important step on our road to becoming Java masters. So in our next video, we will do cooler stuff, I promise, but this is our first look at Java code. Do you like it? Is it scary? Is it easy? Is it hard? You can post in the comments about it, and if you feel comfortable, let's go ahead and move on to the next video, where I will try to explain a little bit more of what's actually going on here, and we'll make a program that does cooler things. All right.